Motion to approve.
So.
You have a second?
Second.
In discussion?
I didn't mean for tipping fees to be on the consent, but I put it there, so if you have any questions about that, let me know.
Be clear,
Alright,
yeah, it's amazing how much it is.
Have they started pumping it into that pit?
I haven't seen it,
I mean, it's setting up.
it's all set up,
Yeah, I was wondering.
So, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Old business, livability tab, photo contest. So. I kinda like the idea if Watch chose or made the recommendations. I don't know, what does everybody think? Do we care?
Well, it might be harder with a bigger group to come to a consensus. That's
This is
one thing
true.
I'm thinking, that's the only thing I think bad about it, but I don't really care.
I just,
Like that, I like that attitude.
No, I mean, just like,
Like
if you have a big, a large group, it's hard to pick the
Winner,
winner,
yeah.
but.
did you
Hey,
guys
I-
look through all the pictures in advance of the meeting?
we looked at most, I looked at most of them,
Votes.
Okay, did you think there was a clear winner?
no.
I think we just do votes and then we'll whoever gets the most votes, it'll be easy.
What I liked, what my thought was that if Watch had. I mean, obviously, the impact of Watch has been pretty broad. But this would be something that's kind of tangible, they gotta pick the pictures.
Yeah.
For that part of it,
Yeah.
that was kind of my theory,
I agree,
I like the black and white ones,
I do too.
I really like black and white.
Color. Sorry.
Kodachrome's gone, it doesn't matter anymore. Alright, so we've kind of agreed, we'll let Watch choose or make recommendations and we'll pick the final few from there, okay. Alright, so now, new business discussion and potential approval of DNR mitigation plan.
Okay, so. Lucas was gonna get this sent over while I was gone, and somehow I lost my Chrome again. And unfortunately. He is very ill. He was gonna work on it Monday and just couldn't, and he was sick again today. So what I'm gonna do is summarize what we discussed and then I confirm with the Coners. And I think what I could do is, again, we designated like a subgroup. So we will continue to progress on this and maybe even potentially sign anything as long as we're in the agreement on the concepts. So basically, I had gone back to Lucas with two different options and he took that back to his group. And I also said, Lucas, we can't just have a meeting, then he has a meeting, so he has now been designated to do the final negotiations. We'll come up with like an appendice or a written agreement. And then he'll take that to his boss and hopefully we can sign it, so there shouldn't be any more meetings. So option one that we discussed was, we know as part of the Highway 60 reroute, they are gonna be expanding the culvert there over Hiawatha regardless. So we pitched that project because we're doing it anyways, and then they said that that project wouldn't address mussel species. So if we did that project, they want to be at the table with Dietrich, asking questions like, how big can that opening possibly be to allow the most water to flow through and the most species to get through there? And they also wanted to ask Dietrich, how big could you get Fourth Grant Boulevard culvert to be? And I was like, I kind of had these questions and I just need you and Dietrich to be in the room together. So we weren't able to do that meeting, but theoretically, they accepted the culvert idea, plus paying a $64,000 mitigation fee for the mussels that will, and it's a fee that they could calculate. Option B, that was a result of a meeting with the Coners that I've had, in which 2 years after we become operational, the Coners would agree to do and dredge approximately 500 cubic yards. From that cut near Reed's Landing that they want dredged out so that. Fish can live there and theoretically, I think a kayak could go through there. And the requirement on that one that we said is we wanted a counter that it would sunset after 5 years. And then they requested that we would re-dredge it every time we have to re-dredge our own area. Then we do it. So I talked to the Coners. They believe that if it's just 500 cubic yards, that is feasible. I asked the DNR that they would need to handle all the permits that we would need. That was another concern we had. And that they agreed to do that. And, I think the Coners wants assurances, it's just gonna be 500 cubic yards and not be like 50,000. Whoops, like we miscalculated that. So, the Coners, and so if we did that option, theoretically, that restores mussel habitat in that area. And we wouldn't have to pay the $64,000 fee. So thankfully ahead of this meeting, Chuck reached out on behalf of the Coners and they just wanna see the details in writing. So I guess I feel that neither of those options are like perfect, but John and I kind of discussed it's not bad either because they're things that we see. I think I'm comfortable. I didn't wanna like the Coners be figuring out how to move sand off islands and then saying, hey, could you go over here and dredge? The fact that they would give us a couple years from when we operationalize before we start with this new project, I think gave some comfort to me personally. And it puts them in a bit of a position because they're gonna then have to give us the permit with our commitment that 2 years after or 3 years after we get the permit, we complete the mitigation, so. Emily, do you have any more
No, thank you
comments?
for being a masterful and headed negotiator, because
Good.
I think it was shocking what was originally
Yeah,
proposed, and we need the time to execute this.
So how does making bigger box culverts on those two bridges cause flow through a dead heading stream? Please tell me that.
Gravity.
Oh,
it runs downhill, right?
I just want to throw this out here. If you remember, I don't know, you live in Winona, but I don't know, years and years ago, back in the 70s,
Yeah,
Lake Winona was awful. It was a disaster.
yeah,
And they put in bubblers to
okay,
increase the oxygen content in the water, and that brought the lake right back to life.
yeah,
I
cool.
wonder if that was something that could be considered for
Yeah.
that slough there.
You
Yeah.
need depth to start with.
Well, I don't even know how deep it is. No, I'm just saying.
I
No,
think
that's Lake Notice Lake.
It was, yeah.
But there's still a vegetation problem.
I
Yeah.
think I
it was-
asked in the
gross.
negotiations, again, in a final negotiation. What about just doing the aerators? And for some reason, they're a little obsessed with dredging or, I don't know, they didn't wanna just see aerators.
But that's definitely come up, Jeff. That
Yeah.
can help in the big Minnesota futures.
And we would have loved to take on the Zumbro slough dredging project and the aerator project, which is what we talked about with this group. It's just that Brian Mald said it's very likely that the sand there is probably contaminated and would likely need to go to a special landfill, and I didn't wanna, we'd have to test it for like, it's gonna be $10,000 to test what's in there, just to even answer that question. So I feel like we're trying to convince the DNR that the culvert project will accomplish something, because we're planning on doing it regardless, was the goal, Jeff.
Right.
But like, I would have loved to take on this dredging, I just think that I think we felt that. It's such a huge lift just to get the barge terminal operationalized. That there is concern that we lack capacity to start a new dredging project.
I mean, I just
You
brought the aerators up because I
Yeah.
grew up down there when that was going on. It was a
Okay.
huge discussion and it was like, it actually worked. From something, they actually did something that
Yeah.
actually worked.
I don't know, I mean, if you, are you saying you'd want me to ask
No, I
that?
don't want you to ask anything.
Okay, all right. I mean, I think
Ask
there's,
how much flow we're gonna get through
Yeah.
these culverts now.
I think there would be an interest on behalf of the Port Authority, once we build our road, to take a look and see if just aerators could get that thing looking nicer, cause it would help us sell the land moving on. So that's what I explained to Lucas, like, we have an interest to make this look nice, we just can't commit to anything right now, so.
And they weren't willing to allow us the time to study it to prove that we can, that it's doable or not.
Correct.
You know, so
It wouldn't take a planning effort as
as
a
a,
mitigation plan.
yeah,
Mhm.
and I. The idea of them, of dredging that cut on Reed's was just not something that we wanted to undertake, but since the DNR says they will do the permitting for it. Then we're kind of also, okay, I mean, as economy of scale, we're gonna need to be doing that kind of stuff anyway, so. In that
And I
timeframe,
think I
it
wrote
works.
down, one of the conditions that we would put in there was no more than, it would be 500 cubic yards.
Bottom line, that.
Yeah. I think they wanted to use like some language like 3 to 4 feet under the low central pool or something, but what he was gonna do is write up both options in writing, and I can send that over to the Coners, I can send it over to Emily and John, and if anyone else wants to see a copy of it. We'll read it, we'll read both options and then kind of make the final decision, but I think. Obviously, we'd love to not pay $64,000, so we're kind of leaning towards that if the Coners think it's feasible. Chuck, do you have anything to add to what I said? He's muted, maybe he's muted for sure, but listening or something, okay. All right, well, if he chimes in later. Chuck, you're muted if you can hear us. But they just said, hey, we'd love to see it in writing, we just wanna make sure we're not committing to something we can't do.
Okay,
So,
I'm back on now. I'm sorry. I couldn't get my mute to go off. Yeah, you covered it pretty good, Caroline. And I talked with Sean this afternoon, and we're going to try to run up there and take a better look at that cut. Just we're working off air photos now. But I think if we have the agreement tied down as to what we're supposed to do, and real clear as to how it's to be done. We think that it's more feasible than the other two in our opinion, quite frankly. We were scared to death of that Zumbro Slough thing because, as Brian said, you never know what you're going to come up with out of there. And comparing that to Lake Winona isn't quite fair because there's no farm water running into Lake Winona. That's all groundwater going in there. And the stuff going into Zumbro Slough, you know how far up that watershed is. There's farmlands way up there and there's fertilizer running in it. So yes, Caroline, I think you covered it. We're comfortable at this point, subject to what they actually put in the agreement.
and I think Lucas promised the Coners actually a map too, and some more details visually. So we'll continue to work that out, I hope he gets better, and I feel, and then the other thing that was odd was that Bridget from the muscle department said, oh, I've got your $64,000 invoice ready. And I was like, okay, Lucas, you said at that meeting that Bridget said no $64,000 fee if we did this project, but she's got that invoice ready. So I definitely think, I hope they don't walk that back because we heard multiple times.
Oh, yeah, this,
That was made clear that was acceptable litigation. We're not gonna do this if we have to still pay $64,000, so. Yeah, so, okay,
all right. Let's move on. National Eagle Center operations update, Robin, your name's in parentheses there.
Okay, well, I mean, there was a meeting recently between some members of this group and some members of the Eagle Center to discuss the expectations and partnership between the two. I had only, put 1 hour on my calendar for it. So I had to get off, but it went on for 2 more hours, so it was a 3 hour meeting, so a lot was discussed. Talking to the Eagle Center people after the meeting, they felt like it was a very good meeting. They feel like we're in the best place as far as a relationship with the Port Authority of the city, you know, now that we've been in a long while. They do know that there are some concerns. Caroline brought up some things that were in the original agreement that haven't been taking place, you know, some accountability, et cetera. And they know that $4 million that was allotted for the Preston Cook collection has to be indeed spent for that. And they have formed a small committee to figure all that out and look at those spaces. As you all know, Ed resigned, and so now we have,
I don't think everyone knows.
oh, don't everybody know that? Does everybody not know that?
The new guy?
Ed Minima, yeah, he has resigned.
Jeez.
So we have, two current long-term employees, Scott and Annette, working together, kind of running the place, and they're doing a fine job, and
That's,
everybody's, yeah,
that's easy idea.
yeah. And so, in the meantime, the president was Tony Smith, and as of effective 2 weeks ago, July 1st, we have two co-chairs now. It's, Ann Line Weaver and Riley Hintz, I think is her last name. She's from up in the Twin Cities. So they're both very young, very energetic, but both very busy. And neither one wanted to commit to it full time, so they've decided to commit to being co-chairs. Seems to be working. Tony was very relieved to be stepping down from those duties. Things have been, Anne particularly has been working on a relationship with Preston. And Preston seems to be in a much better place as far as how he's viewing the Eagle Center. And he has hired Connie LaRock out of on his dime to do some fundraising for the Eagle Center. And wants to get involved with doing some fundraising. You may have all heard that we're bringing the Taste of Wabasha back, so that'll be a fundraiser. So I think, considering there was another, you know, like big rock in their, you know, waves, everything's good. Everything's going pretty well right now. And they're feeling good, like I said, about the support from this group and from the city.
What's the attendance and financials?
So that's something that they did share at that meeting, and, one of the reasons Ed, I think, left is he was very concerned that he was working for a nonprofit that was gonna go belly up. And the truth of the matter is, the financials look better now than they have in several years, you know, prior to now. I mean, it's a very shoestring budget. I mean, it's not like there's, I mean, regardless of what some people in the city think, the Eagle Center's not loaded, right? So,
One of the things that they're working on is the treasurer, Kirkline Weaver. After the Eagle Center approves the budget, then we all get a copy, I'll review it, and then council actually approves the budget every year. So that was kind of a missing part of the agreement, that I missed the compliance on and they missed the compliance on. But the state of Minnesota, now that they've invested funds, just wants to be assured that, you know, they are operationally sufficient. So that's kind of where the new, better improvement is gonna be made. And it honestly, as you know, everyone was real focused on getting those improvements done. And so I've been able to now review the development agreement as we move forward, but it's definitely tight, but I'm hoping the budget process that'll allow the board to make sure that things are looking sustainable into the future.
we are very fortunate to have Kirkline Weaver step into the position of treasurer, because he is you know, I mean, he's a finance guy, right? So he's a CFO or whatever at his job. So I mean, he's a good person to have doing that for us. I think that was a spot that was kind of filled, you know, not as fully as it is now, so that's good. I will say on another note, you know, with that new outdoor area, they had hoped that it would become like a wedding venue or a place to be rented, and they had their second wedding there this past Saturday, and it was super successful. I heard so many positive comments. So I'm hoping that more people will start to rent that for different occasions.
Great,
So is like the Shakespeare Festival gonna be there for,
yeah.
okay, I just heard that, I think that's fantastic.
Mhm,
That's kind of a cool thing to do
it
there.
is.
When I looked up tickets, the show here is free. It's, I don't know if
Seriously?
it's kind of trialing that, or the Shakespeare Festival's trialing that. But I think when, you know, they're way back in the open space committee days, you know, that was the central theme of the discussion is how does that space become monetized?
Yep.
For the Eagle Center, because they're gonna be ones responsible for it, but, you know, just COVID really created a different scenario than anyone could ever envision, but it also gave us a construction period, so.
Well, a couple of the Eagle Center employees were in attendance that night. I guess they probably had to be, staff.
Sure.
And they were awesome. And they were running around picking up trash, putting away, clearing away plates. They were super helpful. I mean, I heard so many positive comments, like, why don't more people use this space? So it was really good.
It takes a while to get
It does.
those kinds of things kind of rolling, you know what I mean?
And
It'd be good
I was
revenue.
asked in the department head meeting if the city has a role in like marketing the new dock space. Do we need better signage or just try to promote it? But again, it's like. We're just not set up to market things well. I do think maybe that's something, maybe the Eagle Center can continue to market, hey, voters.
Right.
Here's you could park right here, visit the Eagle Center, go downtown. Or maybe the chamber. Does anyone think we need better signage or you?
I do.
Okay,
That was one of the
Is there-
conversations we had, like,
I don't know.
like if you think of other major ports, that, you know, where it's a tourism port, they would definitely have a sign.
Well, it might be good to have a sign
City
facing.
of welcome.
Yeah.
Space.
Public dockage.
Yeah.
Wabash, access to Wabash downtown.
And there are signs saying how long you can stay, but they're this
But
big, you don't
they're
see them
also
until you're out,
short side.
and they're not there until, you don't see them until you're at the dock.
So a couple things, I was pleased, I think that the board members, and don't ask me their names, because I can't remember all of them, but I felt that it was a good group of people. Some older names, some names that have been on, but some new names and backgrounds that have kind of good strengths for the center, and yeah, we've seen numbers worse than what we saw in those financials at this point, so. And with Line Weaver involved, and you guys have got an auditing firm now
Mhm.
that's gonna start to kind of gel that together, so the numbers are gonna be. They're gonna be able to put all those, retail sales, membership, walk-in, all that kind of stuff, balance it out, make it look more reasonable, so we can understand it a little better.
I mean, going back to the financials, they used to always have public financial records on their website. Those haven't been there for 2-3 years.
Yeah.
This
That
is,
kinda-
this is paid for mostly half the tax dollars.
Yeah.
So that should be available to the public to
And-
know how that place operates.
and the other thing I've requested, and I'll make sure we get a copy of, is a copy of the audit, so.
Yeah. I think they.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we will get those, they will go on a future council agenda, so that they will be made part of the record, and then maybe Robin, I don't know if you wanna share that kind of feedback, that used to be. Right on the website, a lot of major nonprofits do that,
They just post their 990, I don't know why they stopped doing that, it's easy.
Well, I mean, I think Rolf did it, but it hasn't probably been done since Rolf.
Eileen did it, is what.
Eileen did it, yeah, Eileen
They
did
have
it, yeah.
not Eileen for 5 years.
Yeah.
okay. So Robin is the port rep, and then I thought it would be helpful to have Robin add. Do you guys, how often is the Port Authority interested in getting updates from Robin? Do you guys want that, maybe we put that on quarterly, or do you wanna just share when you have something to share, Robin, or?
However you guys want it,
You know, I wouldn't mind,
once a month, every other month.
Every other month, maybe every other month, we should get an update.
or how about we just put it on an agenda item, and leave it on there, and then.
If there's something we
We'll
said,
talk about it or
perfect.
not.
I like
Okay?
that.
Okay.
That's okay,
Yeah.
then that kind of keeps us as well,
In
kind
the
of,
loop, yeah.
Cause I've always understood the Port Authority was real instrumental in the early days of the National Eagle Center. And then that's now kind of changed where we're not involved. Were you guys on?
So that was, no, none of us were.
Oh, okay.
That was there, yeah, if it wasn't for the port, that wouldn't have gotten built. So very much a part of that, and it was some of the charter members of the Port Authority that got that in.
Okay,
Yeah,
alright,
It's a relationship that very much needs to be good.
Yep. okay, let's move on. Capitalize the facade improvement grant program. Is that where we're at?
Yes.
No, Kathy, she's not in tonight?
Is she on, she must be out of state.
yeah, she's out of the state.
Yeah, cause I haven't seen her around the office either.
So I think she's asking. WMB Financial made us aware of an opportunity fund grant that's more for businesses. And it said only nonprofits could apply, which we were like, well, we're not a nonprofit, but I guess it sounds like maybe Main Street is willing to be the nonprofit, and she is wondering if we would be interested in submitting an opportunity fund grant for the facade grant program. I looked at the website once before,
Does it need a match?
that's a good question.
So if it's a Main Street, what's the Port Authority's role?
I think, cause we have the staffing essentially,
So
I'm
Kathy would be doing
assuming
this.
he would be managing it, taking in the applications and. But I don't know, I think a question for Main Street is, we would be more better placed, I think, to handle the funding. You know, than Main Street, it's just like Craig, you know, like. Yeah, so,
You definitely want the staff expertise that the city for.
So, and
They're just
then,
offering themselves up as I guess,
Okay,
the eligible candidate, I don't know. But I would think that happens all the time because a lot of Main Streets reside within the city,
mhm.
and so.
Kathy also sent a memo to the Eagle Center regarding that. So,
would that be competition?
oh. Or would she just say they should be applying for it?
Definitely. I don't know.
The one thing that I question, it says that funds cannot be used for capital improvements. But then up above, it said they can be used for downtown revitalization projects. Well, I can't think of too many downtown revitalization that wouldn't be a capital improvement. I consider, for example, purchasing a building. But anyways, I think we'll find out if we're not eligible, but. Yeah, I think it could be worth it. I think what we would want is that the city receives the money, I would think, or the port. Because I think it would be a lot of extra work for Main Street to be cutting checks unless they want to,
can't imagine that.
but yeah,
No.
yeah.
They would be great at marketing it, and they would be great partners at explaining it. And they'd have, probably a lot of resources to read those about. Design guidelines and stuff like that, but
Mhm.
Well, I think she should apply. Just
How much was this for?
up to 50,000.
Just that Main Street would help promote the program.
there's probably a waiting list of people that wanted the money the first time that would.
Mhm.
start that.
I'm sure.
Based on our prior waiting list, I mean, I think 25,000 would be manageable to get out the door.
Go ahead, just do that.
Yeah, I mean, it was Con Walters made us aware of the opportunity, so I appreciate him thinking of us. So,
25?
Sure.
Okay,
okay,
Do you want a motion for that?
do we need it? I don't think so. Director's report. Everybody have a chance to review?
No,
Kathy's.
no, I didn't.
Pretty short this time.
Yeah.
I did not know the bike shop had new owners. I did not
I
know
didn't know that.
Yeah, Bucky Beeman, he's a,
Bucky bought it. Is he
Yeah.
gonna run it as a
I,
bike shop?
no, not at the bike shop. I don't know what he's gonna do with it.
Wait, no. So did Bucky buy the bike shop or the quilt shop?
No, he bought the bike shop.
So who bought the quilt shop?
I don't know who bought the quilt shop.
So how come it's not?
You're supposed to know.
I thought, the
They
last I
hold
heard,
everything on.
the last I heard about the quilt shop was the deal wasn't gonna go through because of some environmental concerns, because gas tanks weren't. They were removed
They
properly,
just removed all the refrigeration when it's this way.
so
Yeah, so.
I don't know the latest on that, but I do know that Bucky bought the bike shop.
Oh,
And I don't know.
well,
what's
it's
in it.
nice to see it's gonna be cleaned up in the backyard. Fucking mess.
Can I share the latter part, which you didn't hear about my volunteerism on the Eagle Center piece?
Yes.
Just so this body knows about this tonight, I welcome contrary thoughts. I've always been uncomfortable from the beginning with the concept of that building needing to be a world-class facility. And I said it vocally every single time it came up. We were on the selection committee for the architects. It's not that I don't want it to be a wonderful facility, but it doesn't need to be to function in the way that it needs to, which is to exhibit the Preston Book Collection, have administrative offices and archives. I know firsthand how much money it takes to rehab those buildings, and I always said, service those buildings, that's really your job, service those buildings and then figure out how to program them. And the idea just got really big, and it went from, I think, 40 million at some point to 24 million, and now they're looking at 4 million. And looking, going from a $24 million idea to a $4 million idea is really hard, it's really hard to untangle that. And so I really like LHB, I think they were the right firm for the job, I just think they were given the wrong order. And through all of the trials and tribulations of COVID, they more than ever, they need to just work with what they have, or maybe even less than they have, that's also an option. So I mentioned that in the meeting, I talked to Al, what is Al's last name? Cooper, who's one of the board members,
And it's great.
affiliated with the organization for like 30 years,
Right.
he wants to be on sort of a building committee. And I said, that's the last time I, as a mayor, participated in any discussion around the expansion, it was building discussions. And again, I kept saying, use what you got first, do not build additional structure, work with what you have, you're gonna have to, make it function for the next 100 years. And they're kind of arriving at that reality now, and they can still satisfy the bonding requirements. My perspective is, member of council is, we need them to successfully complete this bonding initiative so that we can further request bonding. initiative.
Correct,
So it's
correct.
kind of like time to just do the work. And we had a really good experience with an architect who's now in a firm that does a lot of this kind of stuff based out of Dubuque, and I just ran it by him the other day. And he said, absolutely, he said, the archive thing probably was never even on the radar, which I always sensed.
Yep.
And he said, he's a member of the Dubuque County Historical Society or something, he said, don't let people tell you can't archive things in old buildings, of course you can, they just need to have the proper mechanical engineering, so. He said, at the very least, LHB might still be the right firm to get this work done, if they don't seem to be, or they don't wanna backpedal it, you can always, the Eagle Center, or I guess it might even be the city, I don't know, based on where the money's coming from, can always put out an RFP again, and try to attract firms that do preservation. Not for fancy reasons, but for rehabilitation. It's not rocket science.
Practical.
It happens every day in all kinds of little small towns and big cities, and it can be done. So he said, yeah, $4 million is just, you do the needs first. If there's any resources left, you look at wants, but there's probably not gonna be any wishes. It's gonna be mostly needs based. And I think they can do a needs based rehab of those buildings and totally do what the
Do exactly what they
bond
need.
bill requires. And it will be wonderful. It won't be bad. It'll be great.
Right, of
Yeah,
course.
it'll be great.
It's not,
So-
$4 million is not nothing.
No, exactly. So Al and I were gonna have a meeting, and then he had some emergency that took him back to Colorado. I was sitting after their home there, and he's gonna meet with me in August, so. Just kind of have to get like the right focus instead of the what a world-class facility focus.
So LHB, when it started out and, we got the 8 million or whatever. The design brief was, this big.
Yeah,
And in came.
some of the best firms in Minnesota.
Yeah, and LHB was really the right choice, but they had like lighting architects. It just went from, and stuff you don't think about, but probably need to think about. But I think there's enough learned now to be able to, if you will, strip the walls and.
Yeah. And just like an old house, they've lived in those buildings now for a little bit, so I think there's a little more understanding of how they can function within those walls that exist, and you know, less kind of pie in the sky and more like, okay, we already live here, we already occupy this space, how can we use it differently? You know, the auditorium, I think, was the one piece
Yeah,
that we want to make sure, and I think, what did you find? It has to have a stage, that's the state's kind of. That's the state's.
so what's the idea of the stage?
Yeah, what's the state, how do you define?
10
stage?
inches off the
Yeah,
ground,
Yeah.
exactly.
Great. So, anyway, so I'll continue to have those conversations and, you know, update this group, so.
But what's the deadline for the bond, using that bonding money? Didn't we get that
I
extended?
thought it was, they have to have all the money in the project ready to go by next December.
By next December.
Yeah. But as I was explaining, they have, so the plan is to try to accomplish the project with just the 4 million they've been allocated. But they need to have like a plan approved by the state that looks at the legislation and said, yep, they've got a plan to do this for 4 million. That's kind of what we're missing. And I think the trick is that requires some upfront. Payment, just like we're doing with our barge terminal to an engineer and architecture firm. And I think that was also the challenge of how can we put together the money to even pay for the design work, so. I think. I don't know.
We pay for the design room? I think so.
What I recall on the last project, and this could occur again if they ask us, is we lent them $100,000. And then we got paid back once the bonding came through. So that was actually before I got here. I don't know if you guys remember that.
And a lot of that work is still valuable, you know, it's not.
Oh, yeah, no,
Throw a
it's-
baby out with the bathwater, it's just, you know.
So the problem is they have a plan for a $12 million project, so that, or how much was the phase 2, 18 million? So they got all the paperwork, it's just for an $18 million project, so that
Which in
needs to
today's money
be
is probably $24 million.
Right.
revised to be a $4 million project now, so.
Major downsize.
Yeah.
So I think that's the other question is, can they raise money to pay for what is gonna be the design work? But I think Emily's gonna hopefully help them or try LHB and say like, hey, what's the least amount of money this would take to get it to where it needs to be? to
Well,
get approved?
you know,
So,
we have 4 million. Of which some of that is gonna pay you to take what you
Yeah.
have and push it down
Oh,
to
yeah,
$4
that's what
million
we-
total project.
like, the
kinda.
bank could maybe lend them the money to do and design until they get to being ready to go, so. A couple things, we got a question from Corey at the bank, asking if all the grants we had provided through childcare were still operating, and if we needed to claw back money. And there was a line, I probably looked into this one before, and First Children's Finance was not interested in having us claw back funds.
That's correct.
Okay,
I remember that.
so I think we just. If you can find that, I think we just need to tell Corey.
Yeah.
It got brought up, someone was supposed to be in business for a year, 2 years, and they were in business for a year.
Wasn't it that Haley Howard?
Yeah.
There's somebody else also that unfortunately turns out was only in business a year. I think we may need to go back, if they're not interested in getting that, having us take money back.
The economic impact of a childcare provider being open for a year is not worth pulling back $1,000.
I
They
can't
more than
imagine.
made that impact, you know.
We would just tell them that the response last time is. I mean, it would be us like bringing it up and like, unless First Children's Finance gets wind of it, I don't think we need to be trying to take money back from people.
Well, we
That
asked,
could be a nightmare.
We
Yeah,
asked.
and we,
Yeah, we
yes,
asked.
yeah, okay,
I remember that.
I do
Okay.
remember that too.
okay.
Yeah.
I think let's not take that one further. We'll just have to.
Sleeping dog line.
I agree, I think somebody in business for a year, it's not ideal, we wanted them to be there forever, but. That was the goal is. Yeah, so, alright, on my end, I had a. Good call with people at Marriott. I had 2 phone calls with people at Marriott. I think you know, again, the goal is September or October, we hope to be all through all their processes, so we're in the middle of a bunch of revisions to what we submitted. Because. You know, again, an attempt to recycle what we had done for the state, it contained more detail. That started to confuse people in the federal government, because it didn't have anything to do with things they cared about. It was what the Minnesota DNR cared about, so we have had to delete large sections of that, and so. We are hoping to submit it, then we get in a long line, but apparently they're targeting September that we get the environmental assessment. And in the meantime, I've been working with the grant officer to make sure the grant agreement is ready to go. At least they said one thing to expedite it is that you're just okay with the grant agreement, so once it's finalized, I'll give Emily a preview of that, she'll be the signatory on that. And once the environmental assessment, they're gonna try really hard, they said it'd probably be another month and a half after that to get it signed and money. Then we can start submitting invoices for things we spent. The other interesting piece of advice they gave today was as follows, which is. Brian had added about, you know, we've added maybe 1.5 million or $2 million to our cost estimates. They said it's better to go with a lower estimate. And versus telling the federal government it's gonna cost this much, and then if your actual bids come in lower. They might be saying, well, hey, you said it was gonna cost this much more, so they're actually recommending leaving the original estimates that we provided, because we know that they know that we're gonna be on the hook for what we put in the scope above and beyond that. So that was a good piece of advice that I got today. And then we'll have to be doing some reporting. And the other interesting piece of, he was very helpful. I was like, this is awesome. He said that they actually have more money to give away for the program, and they're having really good applications. So he asked, is there anything else we wanted to apply for funding for? But I was like, well, we could really use help on the existing project. Unfortunately, and this is a lesson me and Emily and I have learned more than once. I really should have asked for more money when we were competing. And we can't go back and ask for more money with what we've got.
That's
But
what I was just thinking,
Yeah.
when you said, should we ask for 25,000 when they said there's 50,000? I was
just ask
thinking,
for 50.
I feel like if you ask for 50, you
Okay.
might get 25.
Yeah, okay, we'll ask for 50. And so he said, no, unfortunately, you can't ask for more money on your existing project, but. He was like, we love railroad projects, so if you wanted to bring rail into your port to help port that sand to Milwaukee.
Oh, God.
We love that. And I was like, so they just, and I was like, well, can you pay for equipment? And I don't know. So I think the point is, however, we can scale down what we've got to meet what we wrote. And then there's gonna be funds available in the future if there's more things to do. I guess that's the message. The next one is due in September, and I can't think of anything more we wanna do at this point. But that was a good part of the conversation. So, moving on, I just feel like it's good to talk to the grant officers, and they said they have 53 projects out there and only 8 have gone successfully past the environmental project of reviews, and that's because they're just for planning only. So we are one of many people that is waiting in line to get our project approved. So the vacant parcel at Cannon and Milligan, I have one person that reached out right away, just the realtor on behalf of someone else. It sounds like it's someone that wants to just do a spec build, like build a house and sell it, which is exactly what we were looking for. And they said, well, do I need to hurry up and get in my offer? And I just said, I think the process is gonna be, I'm taking the offers to council because we own the land. Do you guys wanna also see the offers or, okay? Okay, so I just said, here's the next deadline for council. And then we have been in touch with, Nick Leckler and, Mike Scholing, and they have continue to have interest in it. But they're interested to see how that grant program that we applied for. So I thought it was good that there's this person out there that none of us was on our radar that's like, hey, I'm interested in just doing a spec bill. And I think they just wanted, I think they were looking at dimensions and stuff and trying to figure out how do I get a house on there, so that was good. At department head meeting, I discovered there's a rumor going around that the Allegheny apartment projects is canceled,
I was
it's
gonna
not.
I heard that. They talked about it at, they talked about it at, that.
Whatever we wanna call it,
Yeah,
yeah.
I can't believe it's stolen, everything we're getting to.
What'd they
Yeah.
say?
Well, so my friend Sherry's on that board, she goes, I heard that that's all been called off now, I'm like, what? She goes, yeah, the soil is all, bad, contaminated, and now they can't do anything, and I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah.
I
So,
said, no,
That's
that's
an
not quite the true
well,
story.
yeah, it's not canceled, it's true that we found contamination, so I talked to Annie before the meeting. And so we got the bank, the letter from MPCA. That the bank was waiting for came in last week, so the bank financing is all ready to go. What we're still in the middle of negotiations is a back and forth on what the sidewalk and the alley looks like, so they got a draft from. The Johnson Schofield engineer, I think a couple weeks ago, Brian reviewed that and he gave back 10 pages of comments, it was mainly. What adjustments that need to be made to the plan so that the sidewalk and alley is ADA accessible. There was also a lot of back and forth between us and the developer on the sizing, the pipe sizing for the stormwater. So they had originally planned to only handle their stormwater and it was made bigger. So that's where we at. Brian Mullen yesterday gave them about 10 pages of comments on things they need to change, and now the engineer has to do that.
Okay.
And then Annie is in the middle of also just going over all the specifications on the project. So the engineer did the design, but they've got to do specs on the, electrical and where the lighting plan. There was some modifications he wanted to make on the layout. So I guess the message for people is it looks like a simple project, but they will be redoing the alley and the sidewalks, which requires coordination with us. We had some contamination. They are optimistic they will get going this year, but Annie is no longer willing to put out like a date, we're gonna close by
Right.
this, because we've just had to continue to cancel it, so. I mean, they could get going in October and be fine, I mean, so I think we're not gonna give out dates
Right.
anymore. And so once they know that the plans are where they need to be at, they'll send it out for bid. Once they get the final bid numbers is when we close, cause then they know how to size the loan, so. Sorry, I mean, I'm not sorry, cause literally this is not in our hands. They are well within all the dates that we have in every single agreement. They have till 2028 to complete the project,
Right.
so. I
Very
guess.
fun, yeah.
Good, that's good.
We got $10,000 from League of Minnesota Cities for the phase 2 investigation. So what, I think I summarized it at the last council meeting, but essentially. They definitely have found areas of contamination with like concrete in it and things. And they found other areas that are clean. They even found a pipe that they had to remove, and we had a test for asbestos. And so I think what they're working on is mapping where the contamination is. And then I think I've mentioned this at council. The good news is the cleanup can be included, like all the funding we got will pay to clear the area for the right of way. It's not gonna pay to clear the area that we need cleaned up for the future development, which is why Kathy and I are still active on that front. But the good news is it can be wrapped, like, we don't have to worry about cleaning it up before the project can get rolling, which is a huge relief to me. It'll like count, so that's good. And I'm glad that the 36,000 that you guys approved is now down to 26,000, because some of that was paid for. The engineer on the project is also strategizing how some more of these phase 2 costs could be wrapped into the project, but because we needed to get going, we just had to get going. And then we're gonna do a kickoff meeting July 22nd on the highway project, so. MnDOT's gonna be there, Dietrich's gonna be there, Tony, myself, Tyler are gonna be there, and it's a kickoff for what they are. They are already out on the athletic field surveying it
Yeah,
and
they better.
getting that ready. They also have a traffic counter out there over on the bridge that malfunctions, so they're counting trucks, so I hope that they're getting going, and then, somebody at MnDOT sent out an early notification for us. We needed to notify it, it needed to be out there, they already sent that out, and that's out there waiting for comment. So I think of all the projects, this one has, I feel
Yeah.
good about it, like stuff is happening,
At least we got-
so. And they're targeting an open house for the project, they're thinking in October.
Yeah.
Great.
And, they wondered, do you guys have any feedback on? Like, okay, he said they wanna do an open house format, they do not wanna do a presentation style, cause they've just found that like one or two people can dominate the conversation.
Yeah.
It's gonna be open house, boards are gonna be up, and you can have conversations, I thought that they are very interested in doing some roundabouts. I think that will be controversial in Wabasha. I could be wrong. And we were just sharing venues, so I mentioned like the Eagle Center, we could open up the fire hall if we needed to, that's right over there, so I think I thought it might be nice to grow the Eagle Center some business, they charge to use their conference room and. Jeff.
Yeah, Jeff.
Anyways, so I
I think
think
Felix Gym has been used in the past.
Okay.
Yeah, depending on how much room they need.
that might be good,
Yeah, that's good.
yeah, that's a good option, let's do say Felix, okay.
Or they could rent a storefront downtown like LHP did when they did the community conversations.
That was fun.
Cool.
But I think if we could get this out for the public to look at some concepts in October, I think that would be good.
Exciting.
That is all I have. So
That's a whole lot.
Wow.
That's pretty great.
I
What do you do all day?
I
Yeah.
went to a family reunion and you know how people ask you about your job and I'm just like, I'm literally
I thought very
constantly
good start, yeah.
waiting for something to happen, but I swear it's gonna
And a
happen.
lot of management.
Oh.
Juggling a lot of balls there, girl.
Yeah, so, no, I think it's good, and, the other good news is we got paid by the Army Corps today, so there'll be another $200,000 in our bank account, that's our tipping fees, which
Nice.
will be helpful, so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I will be honest with you, I sweat bullets a little bit when I come by Reed's Landing. And I see the barges in the tow and people, they're moving sand, it's like, that could be our sand.
There's more for you.
I know,
Well, it's
Well,
parents
take
even
it out
out of
there.
river.
I know,
Once it's gone onshore, they're done.
yeah, it's just, anyway, gets me going a little bit.
yeah, we'd love to have been farther along, but,
It is what it is.
I still talk through, Sean, the possibility that. You know, if we get it approved in September. And the environmental assessment is done. And we're getting close, I mean, there's no reason we couldn't try to bid out for just the dredging part, so we are organizing the grant agreement so that the dredging part could be separated. That's all the coders need to start operations. It's just like without having everything signed, I told Sean, I'm not comfortable with having them prepare bid specs yet, it's just like, we need more.
We
things
can't
done.
afford it for it to not be signed before we go
Yeah.
farther.
Yeah, so,
It's just,
anyways, I think it's unlikely someone could dredge the river in October or November, but I mean, you know. Sean or Chuck, do you
They
think,
moved
would you
downriver
agree,
already.
like? Yeah, I think it'll be next year, but we have separated out that contract. But then there'd be more logistics with the thought, can we just at least dredge it and then separate out the construction, so. Alright,
that's that. Other items, Smith CEO meet and greet. Thursday, July 17th, that's tomorrow. I don't know anything about.
Thursday.
Thursday.
Yeah, sorry. Too many days off.
So do you wanna add anything about that, Tyler?
No, Dr. Mann just wanted me to invite you guys, he said it was originally 3, it might be closer to 3:30 based on their new schedule, but sometime between 3 and 3:30. They'll be at the golf course, so. Yeah, the outgoing CEO, Tim Penny, and the new CEO, Benny Croft, will both be there, they're kind of touring southeastern Minnesota all week, so, and we're one of their stops, so. Exciting.
Okay. And we have a local person that joined that board.
Bob,
I thought Scott did.
no, Bob ended it.
Got it.
They, so yeah, since he revitalized the
Sure.
community foundation, they grabbed him right after you were dead.
Oh, good.
Perfect. That's good.
It's a good thing.
Our community foundation is so impressive.
It's so impressive.
Yeah,
I was walking this morning, I saw they were getting a check, presented to them from, you were there?
Yeah.
From the new insurance company, Schmidt Insurance Company.
Great.
cool.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, they did a campaign where for new members, or in the month of June maybe, or a certain time period, they were gonna donate a certain percent to the community fund.
And you're still on that board, Kevin?
Yes. New
And-
treasurer now that we're.
It was a large group out there. I mean, you must have been almost all there.
Yeah, it was -1.
Okay, I was gonna say, it's a big group.
That's cool.
We've got 8 on the board now, so. Yeah, it's a good board, we've got a good group.
The Port Association meeting in St. Paul is gonna be August 6th.
Yep, you can keep in my schedule open and planning to attend. I told the person on the phone, I'll definitely share with the other members about these Marriott opportunities. They said it was one of the few areas that's not being cut, so they wanna continue to invest in
Get going.
rail port, so yeah, that's good news for, I guess, our future, so.
Anything else, anybody? Motion to adjourn,
So moved.
second,
Second.
all in favor?
Alright.
Thank you very much. Just like that.